Good morning and welcome to the Healthy Concept Show. And we love to talk about your health and all those good little bitty things that you can do that can really make a big difference in your health and life. It's also that friendly weekly reminder to stop eating so much sugar. So I don't know if anybody, it's very subtle how we did that today. We didn't talk about it beforehand, but we kind of drug it out. You know, for a good, singing, if you hear somebody sing, it's not just the voice, but it's the timing of how the voices come in. You know that you're a singer, right?
Yeah.
Sometimes if you delay coming in and singing, it actually has a little bit of an impact. So I enjoy you guys. You did a real good job on that. We kind of did it slow. We had stop eating so much sugar. By the way, I had a sweet lady come in yesterday. I won't say her name, but just a dear sweet lady. She's probably listening today. But anyway, she was telling me that she listens to the program. Well, I have a lot of people come in and say they listen to the program. It's really neat to hear that. And she actually told me that she has really worked at eating less sugar because she hears us talk every week about stop eating so much sugar.
I love that.
Yeah, it is. So it's a we do it for a kind of a fun thing, but really it is our mission to help people have better lives, and having better lives through better health and feeling good, being vibrant. That's the healthy concept. Because, there's this whole thing in the United States today that there's something called mortality. We kind of know what that is. That
right.
means you died, right? Mortality. Things that have a high mortality kill you. Like smoking has a high mortality, right? Rock climbing has a high mortality, right? So there's mortality. But there's another word that we use a lot of times alongside of mortality, and it's called morbidity. Morbidity means having problems along the way. This is our chronic degenerative diseases. In medicine today, we have become really good at keeping people alive, but we're not good at keeping people healthy.
Right.
So there's a difference between being 75 years old and vacationing in Costa Rica with your family and being 75 years old pushing around a walker in in some kind of facility.
Right.
Now, if you're in that position, I'm not disparaging. I'm just saying that right now, if you're 40 years old and 50 years old, I have the advantage of seeing patients for almost 40 years. And here's my advantage. I've seen babies, newborns, all the way to last week. I had a patient 95 years old. I've had them older, right? So I've had the vantage point of seeing each stage of life with every person. And here's the deal. I can look at somebody at 45 years old, and I literally can see, and to some level of accuracy, can predict what they're going to look like when they're 65, 70, 75. If they continue their good habits or if they continue their bad habits.
Right.
So it is going to happen.
Yeah.
Like you are going to pay the fiddle player, the
piper.
Piper. You got to pay the piper. I don't even know what the piper is. It sounds like pipes or horns, maybe. I don't know. What is piper? You got to pay the piper.
Yeah, I think.
I don't know what that is.
It's kind of like wait till the fat lady
John.
sings.
Oh, okay. So John is sitting here, and I'm not sure he's doing it there. I hear some clicking, clacking over there. But maybe he could Google that up real quick and tell us what the piper is.
The Pied Piper.
It could be the Pied Piper, but I think we've got to, he's
Googling it up.
See. He's Googling it. What is the piper? Like somebody's got to pay the piper. We don't know who the piper is.
Yeah.
But when you're 45 years old, you're drinking soda every day. You're eating ultra-processed foods, nasty foods. By the way, if you don't know if you're eating ultra-processed food or not, you are.
That is so true. I mean, if you haven't learned yet, if you haven't caught the bug yet, then chances are
you are.
Yeah, you're not aware, therefore you're not paying
Oh,
attention.
absolutely. Right. When I was in high school, we used to just eat honey buns like crazy.
Oh, yeah.
Loved
Coke.
them. right? Wash it down with Coke,
Right.
right? As a life strategy, that you're just not going to wind up well. Now, you're going to give me this example that's crazy. What is it?
Okay, so paying the piper, of course, the piper is the one who calls the tune. So the old idiom is, he who pays the piper calls the tune. So when you have self-indulgent behavior, you pay the piper for that self-indulgent behavior.
Actually, that was so good.
That was wonderful.
I've now recognized that John is a resource that's very untapped for our show, and we're going to have to start doing that. That's actually a better answer than I expected. You know, I saw the pipers over there blowing a horn. I didn't think that made sense, but the piper was the one who's
playing the tune.
Who's playing the tune? So you got to pay the piper, right? Gotcha. Perfect. Thank you. All right. So now you're paying the piper, right? So here's the deal: you're paying the piper either way. So if you're doing good, healthy things, putting your tennis shoes on, walking around the block, smelling fresh air, making sure you're getting your sleep, you're eating a reasonable diet, you're not eating a whole bunch of sugar, well, you're paying the piper and you're going to get a good tune.
Yeah.
But if you're not, I can assure you, statistically, things aren't going to go well. Now, you could give me an example. This is where I was going a while ago. You could give me an example of Warren Buffett. So, of Berkshire Hathaway. I think he just retired, something like that. I don't know.
Yeah.
I don't keep too much of that. He's 95 years old.
Right.
He drinks Coke every day. Right?
Some people.
So there are some people who just have iron genes.
They do.
Right? And here's the way it goes. Let me explain this a little bit. So everybody is a unique person, of course. There's not one snowflake that looks alike, and there's not one person who looks alike. Well, you can tell me identical twins, but we don't. You know, we're made individually.
Even if they look alike, they're not exactly. I mean,
the genetics. You're right about that.
They might be born exactly alike.
Yeah.
But what they're exposed to, how they live, that changes as they go.
Right.
So twins might be identical at birth, but they don't stay that way.
Which is actually an interesting study. Because really our health in life and how we feel has a lot to do with two main categories. One is our inherent genetics, and two, our environmental influences and how they turn on and turn off bad genes. Now, for Warren Buffett, I saw an interview on him. That's the reason why he's on my mind. I saw an interview of him. It was a short clip. A couple weeks ago or a week ago, which in my vernacular means it could have been 10 years ago. So anyway, a couple weeks ago, anywhere between a couple weeks to 10 years, right? So I saw this interview, and he's like, the secret to life is just being happy with what you do. Well, you know what I know a lot of people are happy with what they did, and then they had some kind of awful diagnosis, right? So that is not the only thing. But here's the deal. Watch this. And I'm going to just guess here. HIPAA violation on Warren Buffett here. I suspect that he has some genetics that for whatever reason, when he's in his groove and he feels good about what he does, it massively impacts his genes in a positive way, and it overcomes everything else. Yeah. But the next person may not have that same set of genes. Doing what they love is important, but it doesn't rev up their system as much. So there's always this kind of thing, and we don't always know where we're at.
Yeah.
So
there's this phrase: "Do the best you can with what you've got."
That's right. That's right. By the way, we are the Kessinger Health and Wellness Center. We're located in beautiful downtown Raleigh district. That's right. And our address is, well, actually, let me give you this because it makes more sense. 72 in Walnut.
Yeah.
So if you're driving down 72,
it's easier to find.
You see Walnut, there you go, right? So because Google kind of does something funny.
Google messes us up. I don't know why.
You wind up in a
fix
parking
it for
lot
16
somewhere.
years, and I've never been able to get it fixed.
We're not on the radar.
No.
But anyway, Walnut and 72. Our phone number is 573-341-8292. This is the Healthy Concept Radio Show. And really what we do is you have a set of genetics. That's there. But how your life and health works out has so much to do with how your environment influences your genetics in such a way that you can turn on good genes or you can turn off bad genes or vice versa based on how you're working. Now, at the Kessinger Health and Wellness Center, what we do is people come in, maybe you have fatigue, you don't feel well, chronic headaches, or just tired, or you've got some kind of autoimmune disorder, or whatever it is. You've got this known thing going on. When you come in, what we do is we do an examination, including blood work and some urinalysis and other things, to find out what your personal thing is. Like, what is it that you need to do to start overcoming and working better with your genetics? We know that. I'll give you an example. I just did an interview last week. And in the interview, the interviewer was talking about how he was surprised because he was telling somebody how good beans were. And the guy said, no, beans are bad. And so he was talking about how could anybody not think beans are good? And I didn't want to correct the interviewer, but I said, really, one man's meat is another man's poison.
Right.
So one person could eat beans, and it's absolutely perfect. The next person eat beans, it makes their blood sugar go crazy, or they're sensitive to it, or they got another problem. So everybody has their own unique thing. Mm-hmm. So what we do at the Kessinger Health and Wellness Center is help figure out what are those things that work best for you, and what are those things that if you eliminate, you do better. You'd be amazed. The body has a tremendous ability to heal itself as long as you can identify as many of those roadblocks as possible to the natural healing process. Once you have removed roadblocks, now all of a sudden you had headaches, you don't have them anymore. You were tired, you have zip in your step. Pain, now you don't have it anymore because now your body is working better and you've really got to the root cause of the problem. And that's really what, it's what it's all about. You got to figure out what your thing is. And by the way, that person who does really well eating beans could even write a book. And it's called The Bean Book. And they talk about the wonders of eating beans. And some people read that book and they'll think, this is the greatest book I've ever read because this helped me. The next person will do it. And I said, I don't know what's going on, but that dude talks about eating beans, and all it is make me sick.
He's just full of beans.
He's full of beans, right? And so, that's just quite an interesting thing.
Yeah.
Now, moving along. So there was an article that came out that I thought this was really interesting. This is a major shifting of the gears, but I thought this article was so good. I just didn't want you guys to be deprived of seeing it. It came out September 18th. 2025. So it's fresh off the press. As a matter of fact, I'm on my computer right now looking at it, and it feels like the ink is still wet. It's so new. You ready? Okay, here we go. Infant microbiome drives immune development. Now, watch this. Most of the work on the microbiome involves the gut, and that's where all those bugs, you got these little these gut, I said butt gubbies. I didn't mean that. I meant something different. I meant gut buddies, not butt gutties. That's different, right? I don't even know what a butt gutty is.
I hope we don't find out.
You want me to search that up too?
No. Let's don't do that, right? This could get worse than it already is. Okay, so you have gut buddies. You have these good bacteria in your gut that make your life work out very well. So here's what they found. They found that in the first 30 days, they put these babies in 3 groups: class 1, class 2, class 3. The class 3 group was the babies who had vaginal deliveries and were breastfeeding.
Okay.
That was class 3. Class 1, C-section formula. Class 2, vaginal birth formula.
Okay.
The third group was the vaginal birth and the breast feeding nursing. What they found overwhelmingly was the group with vaginal birth and breastfeeding did so much better on all their indices as far as immune function. The class 1 and 2 had more colds, more problems, and so on and so forth in the first year or 2 of life. So the point being is this, is that the vaginal birth is actually very important because that's where the baby gets that first swath of that bacteria that they need for their gut as they're going through the canal. Now, I realize that in some cases, you don't have a choice.
Yeah, it's just not possible. Right.
Some cases, it's just not possible. You need to do a C-section. And if that's the case, then you have to just do your best to make up for that. But at the same time, just recognize if you have an option, the baby's always going to be better with a natural birth. Now, the other thing is, some ladies, for whatever reason, are not able to breastfeed.
Right.
And if you can't, you can't. But I would say this, a lot of ladies, if they would visit like a lactation specialist or something, they would be facilitated that they could do that. I just wanted to make the point that it is really important to live as close to nature and as natural as possible because there's inherent things that allow the body to work properly. Now, watch this. I'm going somewhere with this. In the news lately, we have been talking a lot about autism. Mm-hmm. We've been talking about ADHD. It's in the news right now because, they talked about the Tylenol and the different leucocorin, or I think that's the name of it. So different things about the autism and so on and so forth. And I will say this is really important. You cannot separate the immune system from autism. Now, it is true that in gestation, means when the baby's growing in mommy's belly, week 9 to week 26, there's major development in the laying down of the brain in the baby in that 9 to 26 period of time. So it is important that a lady's blood sugar is regulating well. It's important that she's not anemic. It's important she's not eating food she's reacting, causing inflammation. It's important that normal rhythms are working, like sleeping normally and so on and so forth. All those things are really important. And you're not exposing yourself to toxic things.
Yeah, for sure.
And a lot of ladies know that, hey, don't drink, through this period of time. Yeah. And, and all those different, we know that. Now, here's the deal. Your immune system is a prime driver for this process. There's something called, we talked about it a little bit last week, maternal immune activation. It's MIA. We use MIA as missing in action, but MIA is maternal immune activation. So when the mother's immune system is turned on in a wrong way, it can impact the development of that brain, especially in that 9 to 26 week period of time. So it's really important, and that's the reason why, when a lady gets the flu or something like that, this can be hard, right? You got to take care of yourself, do the best you can. The flu's going around, make sure you're washing your hands a lot, and you're washing your hands will go a lot farther than trying to mask up and do these other things. Mask is really just not a great idea to reduce. We learned that, through the COVID experiment. So masks really do not block the virus that well. But washing your hands and doing these things are really good. And not being in a closed-in area when somebody's sick.
Yeah.
I think that's important as well.
Yeah.
Keep some distance. And being outside with somebody that's sick is probably not as bad. But if you're in a closed-in room right here, we're in a closed-in room right now. If, John had the flu, then I'd probably be sitting here because I feel like my immune system's strong enough to overcome it. But at the same time, if you're pregnant, you want to watch,
Definitely. And I think a lot of women do a really good job of that, but you can never have too much education, right?
That's right. Yeah, and please don't get the idea that I'm talking down to people. I'm really not. This is just about information to help do your best you can. Of course, stay away from the Tylenol, right? It's not a good idea. And stay away from all medication as the best possible. Now, there's some, you talk to your doctor and figure out that kind of balance of risk-benefit. So the next thing about it is this. Even in the child, it's all about the immune system. So in the brain of children and in the brain of adults, we have a very specific type of white blood cell. White blood cell is your immune system. Mm-hmm. So we have a very specific type of white blood cell that's called a microglia. We have a whole bunch of glial cells in our brain. As a matter of fact, 90% of the cells in your brain are not brain cells, they're glial cells. These glial cells do everything. They do your blood-brain barrier. They coat your nerves so you can work well. There's certain types of glial cells that actually coat the nerves, and that's the target site for MS.
Yeah.
When they get chewed up, you can't, that doesn't work. And you've got your immune system. So these microglia are a type of immune system, type of white blood cell in your brain. When they get turned on in a wrong manner, that's what drives autism. Now, there's two factors that's really driving it. You have to have, the brain has to be laid down in a certain way when you're developing, primarily in that 9 to 26 weeks, that's really going to start that process. But once that process is started, it still doesn't mean that this child is going to ever experience autism. But they might. If that immune system primarily gets turned on in a wrong way and lights that fire, then all of a sudden, whammo, we start seeing all of the expression of autism.
Yeah.
And that's really where the big knock has been, because you'll line up mothers and you try to convince them that the vaccine didn't start the autism. Good luck on this, because the fact is that a person with an argument is never competition for a person with an experience.
Right.
Like once you've had an experience, you can give somebody all the arguments and all the data you want, and they're going to be like, I don't budge. I don't care what you're saying. Your facts are not telling you
they're
the
like,
truth.
I saw it with my own 2 eyes.
I saw it with my own 2 eyes. But here's what happens, is the baby's already developing in that way, and the brain's already, kind of the gun's already loaded. And then either the baby's eating foods they're reacting to, they have some kind of virus comes in, like COVID did that with some babies, or some other external force comes in that revs up that immune system, and now whammo, now that trigger has been pulled.
It's like the straw that broke the camel's back.
That's right. So with autism and with ADHD, what we do in the Kessinger Health and Wellness Center is we go through the process of identifying as many things as we can to reduce that burden on the immune system. We'll check food sensitivities. We'll make sure blood sugar's working right. We'll make sure there's no underlying infections. We'll go through that process, and when we do that, we will generally see improvement in behaviors. We've seen children that were nonverbal that began to be verbal. We've seen kids that couldn't sit still in class because they have ADHD. Now they're beginning to become normal, because you find and identify those triggers. Now the brain is able to start functioning in a more normal level. All right, well, sadly, we have run out of time here. And I've really enjoyed this program. It was like 2 programs in one.
Yeah,
we talked about.
Though,
yeah, I think a lot of good information. I hope people take this and run with it. We are the Kessinger Health and Wellness Center, 573-341-8292. Thank you again for listening to the Healthy Concept Show.